We'll lift this up there and we'll be done in no time. I don't think they could hear me scream. Have you ever eaten sloppy bear before? Let's put those beams in that outdoor kitchen today. Welcome to Life on the Moose. If you landed here because maybe YouTube suggested it, YouTube knows what they're talking about, so I would stay right here. You might as well subscribe right now. That way you won't miss out on anything. So I'm heading to get the tractor right now. Those beams are pretty heavy, and I'm only one guy. I'm the only one here. But I do have that little tractor with me. And so I'm gonna try to use the forks on the loader of that tractor to try to lift those beams up on those posts. Hopefully it works out. So while I'm down here getting the tractor, I thought, well, let's just load it up with more material and haul it back. I think I can get it back there without spilling anything this time. So that'd be a good thing. I have in the back of this truck lumber, 2x6s. They're about 8.5 feet long. This is lumber I cut off a Red Moose Ranch. It came from the standing dead pine. Actually, some of it was fallen over. The stuff that was burnt in the fire several years ago. I've talked about it several times. So this is that stuff. If I wouldn't have harvested and milled this stuff, it would have been simply wasting away in the pasture. It's like free money in the bank, right? So let's get it loaded on the tractor and get to work. Okay, I set that wood down there temporarily. I'm gonna move these 6x6s and my leftover 2x6s from the last episode. I'm gonna move all this stuff and I'm gonna pull the tractor right in here, hopefully, so that I can get this beam, at least on this side, between that one and that one. So hopefully it works out. So I'm gonna move this stuff, go grab one of those beams, and then trim it to size. Well, let's keep going. My beam is cut at 136.5 inches, and that's the distance between the outside edges of these two posts. So I'm going to try to carefully lift with the bucket that beam into position, at least close to being in position. Before I do that, I'm going to chain that tree up in the air just so I can get the tractor underneath it and muscle this into place. So you might be thinking to yourself, man, those 6x12 beams are pretty expensive to be using on an outdoor kitchen in the middle of nowhere. You're right, they are, and I would never pay full price for these things. These beams, both of them, I bought on an online auction, about 20 cents on the dollar. So they were significantly cheaper. One reason is because this has a good check running through the whole length. It's not an even check, so it's not like it's going to just break right in half. But it does have a pretty good check. That's why you see this little red mark here that the factory put on there, or an inspector or somebody put that on there, signifying that it wasn't any good for permitted use anymore. But it's perfect for this. And that check isn't going to bother me because, well, you'll see when I finish this wall up, it'll be stitched top and bottom, and it won't go anywhere. Okay, so if you want to grab one end, I'll grab the other, and we'll lift this up there, and we'll be done in no time. Okay, I'll do it. Okay, one beam in place. The easy one, the low one. So as you saw, I couldn't quite lift it exactly into place with the loader, but I was able to muscle it in. The other side will be a little bit more challenging because it's about 2 feet taller. So I strapped it on this side, metal strapping. This is a Simpson tie, Simpson strap. They recommended the 2-inch screw on these. I actually used 2.5 because I'm a little bit offset because my post, you can see that a little bit. The post is bumped out about 1/4 inch. Because these posts are all handmade, I think I mentioned in the past that I made them a little bit bigger to allow for shrinkage. They're still about 1/4 inch bigger than a typical 6x6, which is 5.5 by 5.5. So I'm gonna put straps on the inside, like I did these. I'm not gonna put straps on the outside. Once I get to that point of building the walls, I think you're gonna understand why. Oh, goodness gracious, what a day. Tomorrow's the 4th of July in my world, by the way. It's, by the time you see this, I think the 4th will be yesterday. But I'm not 100% positive. It depends when you watch it, of course. So happy Independence Day. Okay, before we tackle this next beam, I have to get something to eat. Have you ever eaten sloppy bear before? Loaded question, I know. Sloppy Joes made out of bear meat. I'd love to know. I'm guessing 0 of you, but you know, who knows? All right, let's eat some sloppy bear. Okay, we're ready to get that beam on that post. It's going to be a little bit tricky because I can't drive up to it, so I'm going to have to approach it at an angle. And maybe I can get that right fork down there just on this side of this post. That way the beam is kind of locked in and it can't go that way and it can't go backwards. And then on this end, I'm going to have to balance it up here again and get on the bottom 1 or 2 steps in order to lift it that high. So I just got to be a little bit careful. I don't want to get hurt. As I mentioned, I'm the only one out here. And the nearest person, I would guess the nearest person is about 0.6 of a mile away, if I'd have to guess. I don't think they could hear me scream. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Well, let's put another beam up.
I know a place where we can go and be alone. So come away with me, nobody has to know where we gonna go. I was just calling to see if you're free to run away with me, to run away with me. Don't tell your friends, we'll let them know we're safe later on. The road's calling, sun on our skin, sleeping under stars when it's gone. I was just calling to see if you're free to run away with me,
Well, the second beam is in, thankfully. It's a little tricky, but managed to get it up there. So now you get a feel for what the roof line will look like. One shed roof, one slope. I think I mentioned it's about 4.5 by 12, somewhere in there. Doesn't really matter exactly what it is. I'm gonna put rafters all the way across here to span that. Well, one more thing I'd like to do in this episode is put a couple angle braces here. Put one in this corner and then one in that corner. I am not gonna put any angle braces on this one because this one is gonna be completely stitched from the outside with plywood. As you'll see, that's not gonna go anywhere. This side will be mostly open, so I'm not gonna have the benefit of plywood and the shear strength of that. So that's why I'm gonna put those angle supports in. So I'm gonna use these leftover 6x6s right here, cut them at a 45-degree angle. Easy peasy. Well, let's get to work. beams are in and I'm happy about that. It's always good to get that heavy stuff out of the way when I'm working by myself. So that's a good thing. Next on the list, I believe, will be walls. We decided that will be a whole wall, nothing but wall. At this point, we're not even going to put a window or a glass or anything in there, just solid wall. This will be open air. This will be a half wall. And this will be half of a half wall. Make sense? Be sure to come back next week and it'll be perfectly clear. Well, thanks, by the way, for all the suggestions with the tool belts. I do appreciate that. Let's see, I think there were 3 of them that stuck out. Diamondback, I think, was one. Diamondback or Diamond, I'm not sure. Perkins Brothers, I've heard of them. And the other one was, let's see. Oh, Occidental Leather, I think is the name of that company. So I do appreciate that. I had several people suggest just get a rivet gun and fix it, or whatever the case may be. If it was just one rivet, I'd be all for it. I'm all for saving money and materials and everything else, not throwing things away. But this tool belt, as I mentioned, it's over 30 years old, probably close to 33, 34 years old. Regardless, there's leather that is tore at several spots. My hammer loop is almost all the way through. I have seams that are unraveling, stitching that's coming undone. I have 3 or 4 rivets that either have failed or the leather around them have failed. It's a mess. So I'm looking forward to getting a new belt. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. You're the best. I don't care what everyone else says. I think you're the best. Well, thanks for watching this episode of Life on the Moose. I really appreciate it. Come back next week. We'll get going on those walls and we'll have a grand old time. Until then, take care of yourself. I'll see you soon.